In this lesson, we'll learn how to create and modify a clipping mask inside Illustrator. Alright, now we're switching gears for just a moment here, and we're going to talk about how we can mask out objects in Illustrator. Now, the most basic type of mask in Illustrator is a clipping mask. Now, a clipping mask, you may remember when we were talking about our Draw Inside mode, a clipping mask hides everything that's outside of a masking object. So, I tell you what, let me just select this rectangle in the center of our artboard here, and switch into Draw Inside mode here. And let's go ahead and grab our ellipse tool and begin drawing in some ellipses. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the color of that ellipse so we can see it here. And you can see here that in Draw Inside mode, we're actually creating what's known as a clipping mask. We're masking out the area of these ellipses that lies outside this orange rectangle. So let's go ahead and just deselect that here and go back into Draw Normal mode, and let's just select this object. Now if we take a look in our Appearance panel, this clipping mask is actually just going to appear as a normal group, but we could actually come in and double click on this object and come in and select the individual objects within this group, and we could actually move these around and change the position in relation to the mask. Now let's just back up for just a moment and let's talk about this rectangle and what this rectangle path is actually doing. We've actually created what's known as a clipping path, or an object to include or to mask these other objects out with. Now let's just go ahead and delete this here, and let's just see how we can maybe apply this. Let's go ahead and think about a clipping path. A clipping path can actually be used to mask out a single object, a group of objects, or an entire layer. And we'll tackle the entire layer here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and just draw in a rectangle shape. And let's say we want to, let's go ahead and create a copy of this logo here just by holding down our Alt modifier key and dragging that down. And okay, so basically we're going to create a clipping mask for this character. Let's say maybe we just want to show just this portion that's right in here. We want to hide everything that's outside this rectangle. We're going to make sure that our rectangle is on top here, and I'm going to go ahead and select all the objects. And let's come up here to Object and choose Clipping Mask. Then we're going to choose Make. And you can see here that we have hidden everything that was outside the rectangle for this clipping mask. Now let's just say for a moment that we want to change the shape of the clipping path that we use to mask out this logo. Well, we might at first glance think, well, let's just grab the transform controls here and let's go ahead and just stretch this in. And well, that actually modified the shape of our logo. We don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and undo that here. And let's look up here at the control panel. We actually have a couple buttons right here. This first one is to edit the clipping path. If we go ahead and hit that button right there, we're going to be able to come down and select that clipping path and make changes to it. And maybe we want to mask out everything but just the character. We could actually come in and do that. You know, the second button here is actually going to be to edit the contents of our clipping mask. So let's go ahead and just click on this button, and you can see here we highlight our logo. So maybe we want to adjust the position of that within our clipping mask, just like so. Now, let's say for just a moment that we want to go ahead and remove this clipping mask from our object, or group of objects in this case. Let's come up to Object, choose Clipping Mask, and let's choose Release right here. And you can see here now we have actually released the clipping mask that was on our character or on our logo, and we still have the path that we used as the clipping path, and we can go ahead and delete that if we want to. Let's go ahead and delete both of these objects here. Now, throughout this document, I've actually included some clipping masks from the very beginning of this course, and let me just go ahead and show you some of those now. Now let's take a look here at this upper portion of the letterhead here, and let's go ahead and select maybe these clouds. Let's select that cloud, and let's select this cloud. Let's go ahead and change those to a different color so we can see those a little better. Let's give them a black fill. And notice here that we can't see the outer portions of these clouds. Let me just go ahead and undo that here. What I've used is a clipping mask to hide everything that falls outside our artboard. Let me go ahead and just select that clipping mask here. Now I could come in and choose Edit, and we could actually come in and edit that path to show the entire cloud if we wanted to. Or we could go in and actually hide more of the clouds if we wanted to do that, just like we were talking about before. So let me go ahead and undo that here. And I've actually used a clipping mask on this artboard. I've used one here. I've also used one here. So there's a few clipping masks throughout this document for you to explore and maybe play with and modify with your own project files there. So let me go ahead and just show you how we might go about masking out an entire layer using a clipping mask. So let me go ahead and just draw in a rectangle shape here. And let's say that for this layer with our letterhead on it, we just want to see this upper area. We want to mask out everything down here that we've done. So let's come in and just take this path that we've just drawn. Let's drag it up and make sure that everything we want to keep falls inside this shape here. And I'm going to go ahead and stretch that out to the boundary of our artboard. And now, creating a clipping mask for an entire layer is a little bit different. Now, I'm going to come in and make sure first that this object, this path I've drawn, is the topmost object in my stacking order. So I want to go Object, Arrange, and Bring to Front, right there. Now let's come over to our Layers panel here. I'm going to go ahead and select everything on this letterhead layer here. Let me just go ahead and click right there. And we're going to select everything on that layer. Now we're not going to come up to Object and make a clipping mask now. We're actually going to use this button right here in our Layers panel to create the clipping mask. So let me go ahead and do that here. And in creating that clipping mask, you can see here that everything, even in my scratch area over here, is now hidden. And we've also hidden all this information down at the bottom of our letterhead. So we can actually create a clipping mask for an entire layer. Now I tell you what, let me go ahead and expand this layer and just to show you exactly what that clipping mask looks like in our layer stack. We'll go ahead and twirl that letterhead layer down and take a look at this very first entry here. This is actually for a clipping path. Now let me go ahead and just stretch that out so you can read that. You can see here there's that shape we used to mask out everything but the top portion of our letterhead. It's in our layer stack as a clipping path. So let's say for just a moment we want to release the clipping mask that we've put on this layer. Now we could come in here and select our layer and then choose this same button down here to release clipping mask, but let me show you what happens if we do that. We're actually going to release the clipping mask that I had included at the top of our letterhead here, revealing the clouds. Let's just undo that here, and let's just come down here and select this layer right here, and let's delete that layer. You can see here we've essentially just deleted the clipping path that we used to mask out this layer. So everything on our layer has been brought back. So you can really see what a valuable tool clipping masks can be as we're working here on our artwork in Illustrator. Now let's talk about the disadvantage of the clipping mask in Illustrator. The disadvantage is our artwork is either going to be hidden or it's going to be revealed. There's no in-between with a clipping mask. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to continue on and talk about another kind of mask that's going to allow us more options with our artwork. It's called an opacity mask.